And without further ado, I want to introduce Kim Ford. Kim, has provided tremendous value to myself and to the community in different ways. She's a residential solar energy consultant. She has a significant background with B2B and business to consumer sales. She also has a lot of experience in roofing and all the details that goes around that. So that ties very well with solar. And also, she's a fitness trainer as well. So I'll leave it to her to introduce to say more about it. So welcome, Kim. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be here. I'm excited to share with everybody.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, if you want to pull up your slides, and then to start off, just if you can elaborate a little bit about what I mentioned, share a little bit about your experience before
Mhm.
and now during solar.
Absolutely. I've been in this residential solar industry for 2.5 years. I am a certified and licensed solar energy consultant. In California, you have to have an HIS or home improvement sales license in order
Okay.
to be an independent sales rep for any type of home improvement company. So I am licensed in California. I work with a few different companies. I partner up with Power, Powur. Here, they're a national company. We're at 25 states. So I do a lot of sales in Florida and California through Power. And I also partner up with a California-based solar installer, privately owned company called Solar Going Up. They service the width and breadth of California, and they're a fantastic team to work with. Um, yeah, my passion is helping homeowners make valuable decisions and saving money on their electricity bills. Honestly, if I can make somebody's energy bill completely avoided cost, that's like the epitome of why I do what I do. They say nothing is certain but death and taxes, and I always add to that your electricity costs are going to go up because it's going to happen.
So
So
true.
yeah. Okay, so let me just see if I
Yeah, if you want to email it to me as well, I can pop it up. So in the meantime, I know you mentioned California, Florida. Are those the only states you are able to service or work in, or are you able to do it in all states?
I in all states, Connecticut does require an HIS license as well, but I don't sell in Connecticut right now. So I can sell in 24 states, including Puerto Rico
Okay.
and Hawaii. And here, I'm going to send it to you right now. But I honestly, why I sell in California and Florida is because a lot of sunshine. Okay, number one, it's a great place to take advantage of the sun's energy. A lot of people
Hmm.
don't know this, but we enough solar radiance or solar energy hits the Earth every hour to power everything on the planet for a year.
Wow.
That's the amount of solar energy that we're getting. So if you can harness that and put it to work for you, why not? It's free. It's there. It comes and goes every day. So if you can take that, I mean, it's the most renewable of all renewable energy sources that exist. And solar panels, they do not require, they don't require much to manufacture. They don't have any moving parts, so it's not like there's wear and tear. Like a turbine, you're not burning anything, so there's no, nothing that you're putting out into the atmosphere. It's honestly, it's probably the best way to go if you would like renewable, inexpensive energy for your home. Yeah.
Well said. Now, Gene asked a question about, the this webinar. What is it going to be specifically on? Yeah, it is going to be more general, Gene. However, it can be kind of directed in different ways depending on any specific questions you guys have. So feel free to ask any specific question. And then obviously, if you need any more details, Kim is going to provide her information. You can always reach out to her as well. She's helped me numerous times with my clients and helping my investor partners and my sellers make better decisions and how to move forward. So I'm very grateful to that. She's an amazing resource. So
Okay, sounds good. And just one other thing to answer Jean's question. This is really going to be geared toward for real estate agents, realtors, and investors. When you're running into solar, what's the benefit? What do you need to look out for? What do you need to know in order to get done what you need to get done, and how can you use it to your advantage?
perfect.
So yeah, solar headache or helping hand. That kind of says it all. What I'm gonna cover is, you can switch to the next slide. What I'm going to cover generally is, yes, solar can be a hassle during a transaction. Why and how can you get around that? Like, what can you do so that it is not a barrier? What you need to know as an agent or buyer, an investor, how solar adds value to a property, and what the overall benefits are to residential solar. There are quite a few. And then, of course, available incentives. That's always a question that people ask about. First, we got to start with a bill. Everybody, unless you have, well, even if you have solar, everybody gets a bill. And the way that bills are charged is by kilowatt hour. So on this bill, for example, you can see up on the upper left, this is a SoCal Edison bill. You have time of use. A lot of utilities bill by time of use. What time of the day are you using? And of course, mid-peak really means on peak. It's the most expensive. So you can see there that it averages 50 cents a kilowatt hour. Off peak, it's a little less expensive at 38 cents a kilowatt hour. And then you've got super off peak, which is at night, everybody's sleeping. So it's a little cheaper. This is an older bill. Their mid-peak rate right now is 75 cents. So it's gone up a
Wow.
whole 5 cents since this slide was originally made.
Wow.
Yeah, when we're looking at creating a solar design for somebody's home, we always look at what's your kilowatt hour usage on an annual basis. How much energy does your home require over a 12-month period? And from that information, we can determine how many solar panels you're going to need in order to produce that much energy plus some. Because ideally, you want solar that's going to offset all of your usage and then have a little bit spillover, whether you store that in a battery or it goes back to the utility for credits. That's what we're looking at, is how many kilowatt hours do you use on an annual basis. All right, so here, I was talking about rate increases. It always happens. This is just something that you should know. The average annual rate increase for electricity is about 4%. Depending on the utility, it can be more. Okay, it could be less. It's rarely ever is it less. For example, Edison this year is implementing a 24% increase. That's before they even deal with the fires, the fire that happened. Glendale Water and Power, it has an 11.3% rate increase. I believe LADWP is like 6%, and so on and so forth. So every utility is going to have their own rate increase. And here you can see an example of, in 2021, what somebody was paying per kilowatt hour. You can see on the left, tier 1 is up to a certain amount of energy per day. So they got up to 369 kilowatt hours. There's 23 cents. Not bad. Once you get over that, you're going to pay 30 cents. And if you really use a lot of energy, they ding you because you're going to start paying 37 cents a kilowatt hour. That's expensive, but let's just go to the current rate. And you can see that it's on weekdays, you're looking at 36 cents, 74 cents, or 36 cents. Like, it's going to increase. And this is something that is going to happen year after year, because whether it is they're putting power lines underground for safety, or they're upgrading a generation plant with more efficient equipment, or they just upgraded their fleet of maintenance vehicles to be low emission, or whatever it is, whatever costs to the to the utility or the electric company, that trickles downhill. And the user, the end user, the homeowner, the utility customer is the one that foots that bill. So there you go.
Saying that's a lot of charges that gets pushed onto the consumer.
It is. I mean, where else are they going to get it? But I mean, I just will say that the CEO of PG&E last year made $300 million.
Wow.
So they're
Salary.
definitely
That's
not running a charity.
wow.
Yeah.
So can we get a
Uh,
little bit off topic here? I know this is new since we last, spoke about this, but how are the tariffs playing into, you know, solar energy, etc.? Is it too new? Are we, are you guys hearing anything about that?
yeah. As everybody knows, it changes day to day. It's like you have to really stay on top of it. What is being said about tariffs? What's going on hold? What's being implemented? We heard from our local supplier, CED, on Monday that we should expect prices to go up depending on the tariffs. I specifically try to use as much domestically produced content in each system I design as possible. There are two major solar manufacturers that are located in the US. That's Jinko, which manufactures in Jacksonville, Florida,
Okay.
and there's QCell, which manufactures in North Georgia. Yes, some components might be imported, so we might see a little increase in overall cost, but it's something that we're just really keeping a close eye on. And my suggestion to anybody looking at going solar is, let's lay it out now, take a look at it now, let's get all the questions answered now, because no matter what happens, it's always going to cost you less to do it now than down the road.
Got it.
Yeah. Does that answer the question?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Okay,
it
great.
does.
All right. This is my bit of humor, because you have to always be able to laugh about a bad situation. Um, and I say this to customers and they laugh. It's like, hey, my light bill arrived. I think I got charged for sunlight, moonlight, street light, the light of the Holy Spirit, and the light at the end of the tunnel, because it can be absolutely crazy. I mean, if you ever receive a bill that you go, what? I would like you to put in the chat, me. I would like you to just say, yes, that was me, because I think we've all been at that point at some time or another, sometimes several times a year, where you're just like, especially if you have teenagers, because then you have to go around shutting off the lights that they love to keep on because they
Yes.
think it's free. So, okay, we can go ahead. Okay, so go ahead and click through. We're gonna have something come up on here. So I understand that we are talking about the value of solar in buying and selling a home. Like, we're talking to investors and realtors here. But I want you guys to understand what's the big picture of solar. Um, this is a little dated, but at the time of making this slide, which was last year, there are 130 million homes in the US, privately owned, single family homes. 90 million of those are eligible for solar. And only 3.5 million at that time, 5%, have adopted solar. So there's a lot of room for expansion in the solar industry. And that means there is a lot of opportunity for homeowners to save significant money. And we'll go into that. But it basically, when you go solar, if it's done correctly, you're going to take control of your energy costs. You're going to take control of your energy generation, and you're no longer dependent on the grid. You're connected to the grid. You must be if you live in a city, but you're no longer dependent on them and at the mercy of the power company. They can raise their rates, and guess what? Your costs don't change at all. So that peace of mind is huge for homeowners. It makes a huge difference. And nowadays, there are many ways to adopt solar without having to just purchase outright a system. So it's really makes it accessible for a lot more people. So I just want to touch on how solar works. Um, it's panels go on your roof, the sun shines down on your panels, and that creates direct current. Everybody's heard of like DC and AC or AC DC, direct current and alternating current. So that
Mhm.
direct current is fed through the lines that connect the system to what is called an inverter, which is just there on the side, the blue box on the side of the house. That converts the energy, the direct energy, to alternating current from DC to AC because your house uses alternating current.
Yeah.
That's where it is made, and that is connected directly to the main panel where all of the breakers are.
Okay.
Okay. And that energy is fed into the house, turns on the lights, runs the microwave, keeps the refrigerator going, etc. Whenever the sun is up, your home is going to be running on solar. If you have a battery, once everything in your home is powered, like everything is being taken care of, that excess, the sun is still shining, that excess is going to go to charge up your battery. Now, once your lights are on, your house is powered, your battery is charged, the sun's still up. Where does that energy go? That's fed back to the grid to be redistributed to homes in the surrounding area. It goes via your meter that's on the side of your house so that utility will actually track how many kilowatt hours are you feeding into the grid so that you get credit for them. Depending on the utility, you could get full one-for-one credit for every kilowatt hour you send. You get full credit at night. You can use that energy from the grid and you pay nothing. Or you could have somebody like Edison who gives you like 10% value for what you send. If they're charging you 42 cents a kilowatt hour, you're getting about
Oh, wow.
5 cents credit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's not good. It's not good.
Is there one
Um,
company better than the other to deal with, like when it comes to credits or how they, treat your excess use, the
um,
extra?
Yeah, there is. The only problem is you are stuck with, I mean, actually, there are parts of the country, Texas is one of them, where you can choose the utility. They have a lot of co-ops, so you can actually
I
shop
see.
around and choose which one you would like to use.
Yeah,
But most cities, you get the utility that comes with your neighborhood.
excellent.
And so there's no choice. It's like having one grocery store. It's
Sure.
like eggs cost $14 a dozen at Whole Foods or Erewhon. Let's say you only have an Erewhon, you're paying $14 for eggs. When
Yeah.
solar comes along, it's like, hey, there's a Trader Joe's like right next door, and they only
Yeah.
charge $6.99 for their eggs, and you're like, what? Oh, well, let me go over there.
Yeah.
So solar actually opens up the option for the homeowner. They are not stuck with that utility. But to answer your question, LADWP gives a one-for-one credit right now,
Okay.
which is nice. Glendale Water and Power also gives a one-for-one credit. Usually municipalities do. The privately owned utilities like Edison or PG&E, they do not because they want all their
Got it.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just in case to add value, or if somebody's shopping and looking for a home, that's another thing, to consider maybe, right? Just like
Yeah.
schools and so forth. So it's good to know.
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely. One other point here is if you have not a battery isn't necessary really. Like if you live in Glendale, for example, where anything you send, you overproduce and you send back to the grid, you get credits for. There's no need for a battery because at night the sun goes down, you'll just use the credits that you accumulated. The utility is kind of like your battery.
Got it.
But let's say that you live in Edison territory, you're not going to get that credit. It makes a lot of sense to just put a battery in as part of your system and not only have the energy that you produce saved in order to use it, but if there's a shut off, which there are often, then you have that backup and you can keep your house up and running while the utility is down.
So example, like during the fires, the battery would have added, tremendous value, right? Because, if your
That's right.
power is going to be out for multiple days and you have a battery, then, you have power until the battery runs out.
That's right. And when the sun comes up the next day, it powers your home and recharges the battery. So it's just that cycle day
Mhm.
by day by day when you have solar plus battery. Yeah.
I don't want to, forgive me for keep stopping you. I just have some questions that, have been sent to us from before, so I want to bring it up. So as far as the
Right.
meter that you mentioned that, tracks, so is that like, is there like some kind of app or way to access how much you are sending back to the utility company?
Yes, every system comes with an app provided by the manufacturer of the inverter. And
Okay.
so you might have a Tesla app, you might have an Enphase app, but it's great. You can pull it up on your desktop or your phone, and it will tell you how much your system is producing,
Okay.
at what time of day, how much you're using, how much charge you've got in your battery, if you've got a battery, and how much you're sending back to the grid. And you can look at that even historically, weekly, monthly, annually.
Pretty cool for those visual people. I mean, it helps to know and see how things are working, how it's moving, and
Yeah.
what you are sending back and so forth. So it's good to have that. That's awesome.
Well, it's also great to go, hey, I just invested in this system and look at that. I am using solar only. Look at that. I am not using any energy from the utility. And as a matter of fact, I'm accruing X number of credits right now because I'm sending, I sent 100 kilowatt hours back to the utility today or
Yep.
whatever. It's like it's gratifying to know and to see. You can also look and see how much each panel is producing and
Wow.
how much each panel is operating at. And it's a great way to go, oh wait, this panel is only producing at 50%. Why is that? And you can either go look on your roof and go, oh, a branch fell on it, or I don't know, the neighbor's laundry, like a shirt blew over or
Okay,
whatever,
that's
or
interesting. Good to know.
yeah, or maybe it's just not functioning properly. And in that case, you can call the installer or the manufacturer, whoever needs to come in and take a look at it and get it serviced.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
So
what
as
else?
I was touching on the subject of storage, so grid stability, um, depending on where you live, you might have a really great grid. Like Glendale's pretty strong. Rarely is there an outage. Texas is notorious for having grid instability. SoCal Edison, same thing. Not because they can't produce the energy, but because they're so scared of the next catastrophe that if the wind blows, they turn off your energy. So really, you have to look provider by provider. Some are going to be a little stronger. They're going to have different options available in terms of credits and so forth. So when I design or look at somebody's home, I'm going to set them up with what they actually need. If they have a great net metering program where they get credits and there's infrequent outages, I'm not going to try to sell a battery as part of their system. They don't need it. If they are in a territory where they don't get credits reimbursed to them, I'm going to say put a battery up on there and keep what you produce and use
Keep it.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of incentives and rebates, this is why it's really important to make sure that whoever you use for solar or whoever you recommend is familiar with the area that the home is located in, or they get familiar with it. Because, for example, San Diego Gas and Electric had a program last year. It was for a limited time where they would reimburse you, I believe it was 700, no, $350 for each kilowatt hour of storage you included in your system. So battery storage. An average battery on a house is going to be 10 kilowatt hours. So you're looking at $3,500 check written out to you because the grid is overtaxed and
Okay.
they're trying to incentivize people to adopt solar plus storage. So it's important to know
It's a
what's
win-win.
available. Yeah, it's a win-win. Yeah.
And
All
like you
right.
mentioned, you can really do calculations like in Edison territory. You said that they reimburse you 10%. I mean, the difference in the 90%, you can do the math and then figure out how long it's going to take you to get your ROI on putting a battery in.
That's right. I always include that in a presentation. I always show the homeowner what the ROI is for their
Mm.
with battery, without battery. Yeah, it's important to know. You got to make sure it pencils out. All right. So, what are homeowners saying when it comes to looking at solar as a value? And it's 69%. I'm sure it's even more now. 69% want more choice. Like I was saying, you move into an area, that's your utility. But once you're given
Yep.
a choice, you actually put control into your own hands. You have a little bit more power and decision. Um, Most people support renewable energy. It just makes sense because, we put a lot out into the atmosphere. We create a lot of waste. There's dirty energy. If you could go with a very, very clean source, an extremely renewable source of energy, and save money at the same time, it really is a win all the way around. And 62% are interested in solar because it makes sense. It's easy and it just makes sense. So they say 1 in 5 homes will have solar in 7 years. I think that depends on the area that you live in. But here
Mm.
in Southern California, I just say next time you're driving around, you get in your car, just start looking at roofs and you'll start to realize how much solar there is. Same in Florida. It's becoming the way, the way of the future.
And especially on new construction. I mean, it's a requirement locally as well, so
That's right. That's
definitely
right.
spreading very fast.
Exactly. So I want to cover a little bit of the different ways that you can finance solar, not
Okay.
just so that you know, but because this comes into play when a home with solar already on it is
Hmm.
being sold. Okay. So cash, obviously, if you go and you pay cash for a system, the homeowner owns it outright. It becomes an asset on the home, just like the pool or what have you. That's easy. A loan, a solar loan, is I work with a few companies that strictly do solar loans. And
Okay.
if a homeowner takes out a loan and before that loan is paid off, they want to sell the home, there's a couple things that you can do. Well, they can pay it off in escrow. They can prepay it, pay it off. They can pay it off in escrow, or, and I don't know how many times this has ever happened, it can be agreed that the new owner of the home take over the payments. Because if, I'm not going to say in every case, but in my case, the loan amount is going to be less than what you're paying to the utility.
Okay.
So the monthly cost will be fixed, obviously. It's fixed for the term of the loan. And it's less than you would otherwise be paying to the utility, and there's no rate increases. So there is value in that, but most times people just want it paid off before the house changes hands. So
So is it
that's
assumable or is it a refinance in that case?
it's assumable.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like would they offer the new owner or the buyer of the property, for example, like a better rate if rates have dropped since the original owner had purchased the solar or got the loan on the solar? Or it
No,
doesn't
there's
really
no
matter?
refinancing. It doesn't work like a
Got it.
like a regular loan, I guess you
Got
would
it.
say.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I would say get a copy of the contract, look at the contract, or send it to me and I'll look at it just to see just to be sure of what the options are. Yeah. Um, the next option for purchasing or going solar is PPA, or power purchase agreement. And in this case, it's a little bit like a lease where the homeowner does not own the system. The company that they're getting it from owns the system. They're just paying for the energy that's produced and used. So let's say you use 100 kilowatt hours a month from the local utility and you're paying 30 cents a kilowatt hour. With a PPA, you'd be utilizing the energy produced by your system, okay? but your cost per kilowatt hour will be fixed at, let's say, 12 cents. So it's a lower cost. You're saving money on a monthly basis, but that amount that you pay will vary because maybe it's July and you turn on the AC a lot and now you're going to use 150 kilowatt hours, you see. So your bill will vary, but the kilowatt hour rate will be set. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then a lease is simply that. It's a lease. It is a set monthly amount. The system is owned by the leasing company. So there's no, like cash output to get the system installed. All of that is taken care of by the company. And you're just paying usually a very low fixed cost every month. And it's wonderful if you don't have the capital to purchase a system, or you're like, you know what, I'm not going to live here forever, maybe 10 years, and I just want to save on my energy. Then a lease is a great way to go. It's great for retired folks because they're on fixed income usually. And if
Yeah.
they can predict a monthly expense and put more control in on their costs, it's fabulous. Those are the different ways that you can go solar. When you have a lease or a PPA and you want to sell your home, there are a few options. One, you can prepay the entire lease, like all the way through. Two, you could have the new homeowner or the buyer assume the lease or PPA, which is very easy to do. It's a two signature process usually. You have to have like a 650 credit score to qualify. If they're buying a house, it's not a problem. Um, and it's a soft credit check. So it's not going to show up on their credit report. There's not going to be a problem with the bank going, oh, you already taken out this loan, and that's just going to be one more thing. It's never going to go there. So assuming that lease or that PPA is very simple to do and very smart because it just locks in their rate and they're saving from the first day that they move into the house. Again, get a copy of the contract from the homeowner, so that you can look over it, and chances are they don't even understand it. They could say, oh no, you have to pay for it. I saved Alex's buyer like $45,000 because they were being told they had to purchase the system. No, you just got to read the contract. So you can feel free to email them to me, call me up. I'll look them over and translate everything and tell you what the options are. But yeah, that's how it will go for ownership versus leasing or PPA.
The hardest part about it, I mean, like you said, it's an easy process. Just the most challenging thing is getting these guys on the phone or answering questions during the process. Otherwise, it's pretty seamless and straightforward. It goes
On the
along with the
on the
transaction.
solar end of it.
On the solar, yeah, like during a transaction, like if somebody's buying a house and they're doing the assuming of the loan or the lease, it's pretty straightforward. It's just again, sometimes just getting a hold of the solar company
Oh,
is
the
the
leasing
challenge.
company.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, depending on the company, it can be easy, it can be hard. Yeah, that just is what it is,
But like Kim
unfortunately.
said, like she's not joking. Take her up on the offer. Obviously, again, we'll share her information at the end. She's a great resource. Whether you're a realtor, you're an investor, or if you're a consumer, right? As a realtor or an investor, we're not, we don't know everything, but we need to have the right people on our team, the right resources to be able to get answers for our clients. So Kim is a phenomenal resource for that. Send her the lease agreements, the loans and stuff like that. She'll evaluate it. She'll answer questions for your clients. And obviously, if your clients are looking for solar, they need a solution. They need their situation to be analyzed to get the best system and not to get oversold or to get equipment that's not necessary. Reach out to Kim. So
Okay, tax credits. So credits and incentives. So as I was saying,
yeah,
each state, and municipality can have their own incentives to adopt solar. So it's important to know, depending on where you're at, what those are. Your solar consultant should definitely be familiar with them. But regardless of what state you're in, there is the federal tax credit that's available if the homeowner qualifies. It is 30% of the total cost of the solar installation. That is available to them as a line item credit on, it's not a rebate or a refund, it's a credit. So this form here that's pictured, IRS form 5695, is the one that you would fill out in order to take advantage of that credit. So let's say, for easy math, your tax credit that's available for your solar installation is $10,000. And at the end of the year, your tax liability is $12,000 federal. You
Okay.
can claim, using this form, the $10,000 credit that you have from your solar installation that was done within that year, and only have to pay $2,000. Sorry about that. So you'd only, your tax liability would be $2,000. Let's say your tax credit is $10,000, but your tax liability is only $5,000. You can claim $5,000 this year and have the remaining five for next. So it's huge. And this tax credit is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. It's currently approved through, I think, 2032. And with all of the talk about changing things, this has never gone on the table. And with
Okay.
the focus of the current administration on energy, 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 and the number of companies that are investing in US-based facilities, which is a lot within the solar industry, or at least pledging, to come and create a facility here. A lot of that it's going to pull a lot into the US. So I don't see this going anywhere anytime soon. And that's a question I get asked a lot.
Okay.
So tax credit, it's a good way to go. Now, you only are qualified to claim the tax credit if you own the system. So that's if you purchase it or finance it through a loan. The owner of the system claims the credit. So if you're leasing or you have a power purchase agreement, the leasing company claims that tax credit. But the way that
Oh,
you can take advantage of it still is in the form of usually a very low payment. They pass that savings on to you by making your monthly payment very low. So you still get to take
okay.
advantage of it in one way, you just can't claim the
One way or
credit.
the other. That's
Yeah.
cool to know. Do you think somebody will pull a fast one and try not to give that back, and maybe somebody like yourself can catch that, or does that happen at all?
I've never heard of it happening. As long as, I mean, I cannot say, Alex, you qualify for the tax credit. You can have it available to you. If you get a solar installation, it will be available to you, but your
You
qualifications
have
are
to
going to be
apply.
determined by your tax accountant, not by me.
I'm talking about more like if it's a lease. You mentioned the owner of the system gets it. In this case, it's the bank, the lender.
Oh,
And you mentioned like they'll give you some credit towards your payment. So is that usually automatic, or you have to like look out for it and ask for it?
I see what you're saying. No, so basically, let's say you have a lease and your payment for your system is $125 a month.
Yeah.
Um, that is very low. You're going to have that payment right off the bat because the company knows they're going to get the tax credit. So they're
Got it.
able to keep the costs that they pass on to you very low.
Got it.
That's what
Okay.
I'm saying. So that's why leasing, although you're not owning it, you still are saving quite a bit of money.
Makes sense.
So we kind of touched on what happens if you sell your house, but what we did not talk about is the value that solar provides in terms of home value, increased home value. Homes with solar that is owned, whether it's financed through a loan or purchased outright, they tend to sell for 4 to 6% more than comparable homes that do not have solar, and 20% faster. Because a lot of people are very aware of the fact these days that this is going to save them money. This is a value add to the home. They're not going to have to deal with an electricity bill every month. Or if there's a battery as part of the system, they have that backup and that security in the case of an outage or a disaster or something happening. So there is definite value when it comes to having solar on a house, and you should know that as realtors, or even if you're investors and you're flipping and you put solar on that house, it's going to sell for more, or your client should be able to demand more for the home because it has solar or solar plus storage. It's very important to know.
And I would imagine this number will get higher and higher as awareness increases. I mean, I'm seeing it now. Like people understand solar more. They're actually not discouraged by it. It's actually something that they're attracted to it. In the like few years ago, it's like, oh no, it has solar. It's more a deterrent factor. But now people actually look for it and they appreciate it. They understand it more.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say regionally speaking, like Southern California, if you're buying a home or if you're selling a home and you have solar on it, people recognize it, like you're saying, that there's a value to that because the cost of
Mm-hmm.
living here is high. And the cost of electricity is part of that, and it's going to get
Mm-hmm.
higher. So, if you can add this value to the sale, people are going to want to buy that home.
Yep.
Yeah. So, how to tell if your buyer is going to save with solar? I was saying before, get a copy of the contract. Okay, if they have leased it, or they have a power purchase agreement, get a copy of the contract. Okay, there is a page on there, and I'm happy to help you with this. If you look in the center there, it's got the monthly payments listed out. So this lease has an annual escalator. You can do a fixed 0% escalator, or you could have an escalator of 1%, 2% annually. This one obviously has an escalator because the monthly payment goes up every year.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can see is that, let's say at the end of the lease term, down there at the bottom, the monthly payment will be $169.17. Okay. Compare that to a bill in the same area, or the number of kilowatt hours used by this home or produced by this home versus if they were paying the utility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you can compare. Oh wow, they're let's say they were there in year 3 or 4. They're paying $107 a month for their electricity. If they were paying Edison, they'd be paying $425 a month on average. So, customer of mine, take over that lease. Sign that lease over to you because you're
Okay.
walking into a situation where you're going to be saving money and you're not going to have to deal with that, the utility. You know, this is very important to understand. If you look at the third um, picture here, where it says your past and current electricity usage, the
Mm-hmm.
green arrow is pointing to a negative balance. Like that is what it looks like when you are sending energy back to the utility.
Okay.
You're accruing those credits. Okay. So if you get a copy of the bill and a copy of the lease contract, you can see, yeah, these guys are saving money. They have a low payment. They're accruing credits with utility. And then what is this utility's kilowatt hour rate? Oh, it's 39 cents a kilowatt hour. Well, times 20, let's say 27 to, I don't know, average 30 kilowatt hours a day. How much
Yep.
would that be? And then you multiply that by 30 and you go, okay, that's what your monthly cost would be. So I don't know, we could do that real quick if we have the time. Let's say, so if you look just above the green arrow, you can see that in August of 2021, they used an average of 27 kilowatt
Mm-hmm.
hours per day. So we're going to say
Okay.
27 times 31 equals 837 kilowatt hours that month. And if the kilowatt hour rate is, it is not shown, it's cut off, but let's just say the average right now is 32 cents. Okay. Times 32 cents. 0.32 times, what did I say? 830. I'll just say 830. That's a $265 bill for August. Now, you could pay $265 or you could pay 107. So when you
Okay.
do that comparison and you look at what is the set monthly rate for that solar lease, versus what they would typically pay if they were connected with the utility and taking their energy, you can look, it's less than half. Okay. And that's when you go, customer, if you're representing the buyer, you should take over this lease. Or if you're representing the seller, then you're able to communicate to the other agent, look, they're saving. Like, you don't want to take the solar off the roof. Don't tell them to take the solar off the roof. Just
Yeah,
have them assume the loan. Look at that. I mean, it's easy to do. They just take it over. It's like when you buy a used car and you get your gas at whatever price it was when the car was built, forever. It's
that would be
like,
good.
wouldn't that be amazing? You'd
Yeah,
say yes. So you're really able to illustrate the savings there. And again, I look at this stuff all the time. It might look like Greek to everybody. I am very, very happy to, you know, go through all of this and look at it for you and help you out on it. So you can share that information with your customer, with your client.
this is beautiful. Very
Um,
valuable.
yeah. Again, just the value of homes go up
Yeah.
when you have solar. If you're looking at similar homes in the area, the value of the home does go up by an average of 6 to 8%. In 2023, there was a study by Zillow where they said 34% of agents said they perceived that the solar increased the home value. Like they actually saw it as they were, going through talking to clients, showing
Transactions and
homes.
stuff.
They could
Yeah.
were excited about the solar. And then Rocket Homes did a study in 2021 that showed that listings that mentioned solar sold 13.3% faster and were 24.7% more likely to sell above asking.
Okay.
Yeah, so people are really starting to understand the value. And just to illustrate further, we can go through this quickly. Let's say you financed with a loan, a solar loan. You can see here every one of these tiles shows what their current utility bill averaged over 12 months. So $687. They could finance their solar for 382 with a tiny little connection fee for their meter of $30. So
Mm.
that the savings is huge. Over 25 years, they save over $213,000. Okay.
Wow.
A $353 bill was replaced with a $233 solar loan. A 375 with a 304. That one, the savings isn't massive, but over time, it's
Yeah.
$95,000.
Yeah, that's up.
Yeah. This is just, I don't have to spend much time on this, but Power does provide an extended warranty, a 30-year warranty, which is unmatched in the industry. It covers everything from parts and labor to extending the manufacturer's warranty by 5 years. And it's actually housed in a separate insurance company. So if Power were ever to go out of business, which I don't predict, but if it did happen, the homeowner's warranty would still be in effect and supported by that other company. It's zero deductible and zero out of pocket. So it's a great way to have peace of mind as well. And it's fully transferable. So if you have a Power customer selling their home, the new owner of that system is also going to have this warranty available to them.
We are running low on time, but I did want to ask a question about this that came to mind is it only like for clients that use Power as their company, or is it an extended warranty that somebody can buy it on their existing solar? Is there such a service?
This is, I'm not aware of one, no.
Okay.
This is
It's just
just
from the
something that
beginning.
Power offers to its
Okay.
customers, yeah. And that's it. So
Beautiful.
I'm saying, like, look, you guys, if you can go ahead and scan that QR code. It will take you to my website, so you can save that. If you need any help, you have questions, anything at all, please contact me. Use me as your knowledge base. I'm very happy to be of assistance because I feel like the more educated you are, the more control you can have over that sale. And that's what it's all about. Um, and if you scroll to the next slide real quick, there's one more QR code I'd like you guys to take a picture of. Like you, I love referrals. So if you do refer anybody to me, that's the referral link. Sign up as one of my ambassadors. It doesn't cost you anything. Your referrals mean the world to me, and I always reward them with $1,000 commission. So that ain't so bad either.
Absolutely. It's again, it's good to have, someone on your team that has the knowledge that you have and is able to answer those questions. Again, I'm always grateful for you to come on and share this information with everyone, and you're a crucial part of our community here. And again, anybody that's on here, take advantage of this information. Reach out to Kim if you need anything regarding solar. If you have questions, if obviously, if anybody wants to purchase anything. So that is our information. Scan the QR code, and then I'll also jump back on here as well. If anybody, another few seconds, take her information down, reach out to her directly. And otherwise, if anybody has any question, please drop it in there. Let's see. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, guys. Gene, thank you for the great question. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And Kim, thanks again for your time. Appreciate you.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
All right.
All right. Have a great weekend, everybody.
You too.